It's that special time of the year when Daytona comes out of its winter slumber and comes alive. Speed weeks are just round the corner, the 500 not too far away, but right here, right now, it's all the colour, excitement and class of the Super Bowl of sports cars, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. It's here again, the annual test that is the Rolex 24 at Daytona, the 45th annual, right here at the World Centre of Racing. And what a day it's been. It might be dark, but this place is well and truly alive with excitement, anticipation. There's already been some heartbreak, plenty of drama, and a very exciting race that we have here for round one of the Rolex Sports Car Series. It really is full of colour, full of excitement, and the crowd is simply unbelievable to go hand in hand with this world-class field. And there you have it, 209 laps into this event, and look at that, we've had 8 different leaders, 12 lead changes, and currently Scott Pruitt leads the field and would love to be there come 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. And for Tafel Racing, it's Eric Lux who leads the GT class. And the countdown continues. We always love to start with the countdown to start, and then we look towards the countdown to finish. As nighttime covers the World Centre of Racing, we say hello everyone, Lee Diffie, Dorsey Schrader with you. And Dorse, this has been some day, hasn't it? We went almost 200 laps, almost 6 hours without a single caution.
It's been an amazing piece of driving for the entire field. 199 laps, 708 miles, and it's a record pace up to the point of that caution, 118 miles per hour.
The record pace for the race was set back in 1992 at 112 miles for the entire race. So 118 for the opening 6 hours. It's a pretty good lick.
With all these cars that we have out there and the driver talent that we have, it's been a phenomenal piece of driving. Like I said, there's been incidents, no doubt about it, but it's stayed pretty clean.
Well, we said there's already been some heartbreak, already plenty of drama. That comes with the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and Calvin Fish has more on that.
Well, Lee, we just had our first full caution period of this race, and as they went back to green, Jim Matthews in this number 91 Lowe's Riley Pontiac had a problem. He absolutely rammed the number 20 car driven by Andy Wallace. You can see the damage here on the front end. This is really a great job by this crew to get so many parts changed as quickly as they're doing. The radiator was busted up, the nose was completely busted up, even the shock absorber in the canister there was broken. That really indicates how far underneath the rear of the 20 car he got into. Andy Wallace's machine is also in pit lane right now. But a quick update on some of the lead prototype cars. The race currently led by the number 58 Brumos Porsche. They are in great shape. I spoke to the team. They said everything is rocking and rolling there. The 01 car may have just taken the lead, actually. That's Scott Pruitt behind the wheel. I spoke to Tim Keane, the crew chief there. He said, we're having a trouble-free run. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We're getting great mileage. We've really trimmed the car out. Low downforce means better fuel mileage. He said we're sometimes getting 5 to 6 more laps than the rest of the competition. The number 11 team just got a huge break under that yellow, got back on the lead lap. Milka Duna had a spin a little bit earlier and gone down a lap. Then they had Ryan Dial in the car. He had a great stint going, but had his drinks bottle and the helmet cooler go down in the same stint, so they had to pull him out. And Darren Manning is getting ready to go in the next run. Some other updates, number 39 machine, the Chiva Porsche car had a gearbox problem. They had to change the cluster on that. That put them behind the wall for about 11 to 12 minutes. The 75 car, we saw problems with the coils on that Pontiac engine a little bit earlier. They believe they have not got on top of that problem. They think in the heat of the day tomorrow, that problem may resurface. We also had the number 10 car, had all sorts of drama here today. They had core issues, they got into some accident damage when Jeff Gordon hit the fence on the way out of pit lane, and right now they're running a car that has absolutely no clutch. The 02 car, the car that won here last year, Memo Rojas had flat spotted the tyres, led to a huge puncture and some bodywork damage. For more on the rest of the field, let's go down to Brian. Well, thanks, Calvin. You know, down in GT right now, Tavel Racing looking very strong. They've got 2 cars running in the top 3, leading and in third. Tony Dow, technical director at Tavel Racing. First of all, Tony, have you been surprised by the pace of this race so long before we had a full course caution?
No, not really. It was the cars are all very close, and for sure people were going to be pushing on. They're very reliable, and people are sorted out this year.
Obviously, you guys have a stellar lineup in both the 74 and the 72 car right now, sitting first and third. This early into the race, when you look into your crystal ball, what do you see? I know we have team owner Jim Taffel yet to get in the car. Which one do you put him in, and what strategy do you run to keep ahead of that 85, the only other car in GT on the lead lap with you?
Well, I think there's about 17 hours still to go, so there's a long way to go. As far as strategy, it's just to keep doing what we're doing, it'll be the team that minimises the mistakes and so on. It'll do the best, obviously.
Well, Tony Dow, obviously very experienced in endurance racing. More on GT. Take a look at this, guys. 2 Pontiac GXPs in the top 10. That's great for that team to see those new cars there. Also 2 Mazda RX-8s from Speed Source. They run in the top 10. So, as Tony said, a long way to go in this race. Porsche's out in front right now, but as you guys well know, at the Rolex 24, anything can happen, guys.
And those other non-Porsche teams would dearly love to take the fight to the 24-strong contingent of Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. So that's where it stands in GT at the moment. Up front, we've got 3 cars on the lead lap, and that is Telmex Chip Ganassi Racing, Scott Pruitt, the Red Bull Brumos Porsche of Scott Sharp, and the Sitco Pontiac Riley of Patrick Carpentier for Samax Racing. So they're the 3 on the lead lap. Bill Auberlen has grabbed the Seagull Sport BMW by the bootstraps and pulled it up into 4th place and is flying just 1 lap down on the leaders. And then Joao Barbosa in the second Brumos Porsche. Here's the race-leading car. And what can't be ignored here, Dorsey, is that while Scott Pruitt is doing a stellar job, so too have his younger teammates in former F1 star and now NASCAR Nextel Cup driver Juan Pablo Montoya and Salvador Duran, the A1 Grand Prix driver, both rookies to sports car racing in the Rolex Series. They have held up their end of the deal as well.
No doubt about that. This car has been on a rail. They have not made any mistakes. On the other hand, the 58 Brumos Porsche has not made any either. The 2 of them putting on a stellar battle right now, turning almost identical type lap times. Scott Pruitt got a little quicker earlier, but Scott Sharp in the Brumos car is turning a little faster race lap right now than Scott Pruitt is.
As you enjoy these spectacular pictures with brake rotors glowing and the lights and the fireworks, let's update you on the rest, because Joao Barbosa is back in 5th in the second Brumos. Oriol Servia in the 77 Kodak EasyShare Doran, the Ford-powered Doran, is sitting in 6th. That is superb. Scott Dixon in the second Ganassi car for Target. Chip Ganassi Racing is 7th. Boris Said in the second of the Krone Racing cars. The 76 machine is sitting 8th. And then Bert Frizzell in the AIM Autosport car. That is a Lexus-powered Riley. Bert is sitting in 9th, and Max Angelelli in the SunTrust Pontiac Riley rounds out the top 10.
Now, the people at home might have heard Calvin say that Max Angelelli has no clutch. They might be wondering, well, how can he still be out there without a clutch? What that's happening there is the clutch is no longer able to disengage. The car can drive forward with the clutch engaged fully. Now, what's happening is Max shifting without the clutch. He's actually pulling the upper gear by just using a little lift off the throttle to get it to the next gear. On his downshifts, he puts it and blips the throttle and knocks it back down. It'll work fine like that until he has to make a pit stop. When he comes into the pits, he will have no neutral gear, so he's going to be stuck. They're going to have to push him away.
As well as the world's best sports car drivers, of course, we are boasting an outstanding lineup of NASCAR Nextel Cup stars and Champ Car World Series drivers and IndyCar stars. And those 2 graphics just reflecting on where they are in the field. We'll keep you regularly updated. We know that there's a lot of interest in those drivers, as well as our regular road races. It's just a spectacular mix of drivers from all around the globe, and plenty of superb drivers right here, homegrown in America. So they're into a nice rhythm now. There's plenty to talk about, and 3 cars going hard at it on the lead lap. Up the front, it's Pruitt, Sharp, and Carpentier. Great to have you with us here at Daytona for the Rolex 24. Here's where our NASCAR Nextel Cup champions stand at the moment. Jeff Gordon is in 10th in the SunTrust Pontiac Riley. Tony Stewart, the 20 car, has been plagued by problems basically ever since the start. Bobby Lamont is faring a lot better in 12th, and Jimmy Johnson, of course, that car is still stationary on pit road. Is it? It has left. And their team worked very hard to get him out. Now for our champ car guys, Jimmy Vasser is well down the order. Unfortunately, if you've just joined us, it was a tough start to the race for the pole-sitting car. Alex Gurney was involved in an earlier incident. Juan Pablo Montoya leads the way, and Paul Tracy back in 49. For our IndyCar Series champions, it's looking good for Scott Sharp, isn't it? We detailed there Tony Stewart's woes. Dixon's running strong, so too Dan Weldon, of course. They're in the same car. And Sam Hornish Jr., well, it has been a tough weekend to understate their situation at Mike Shank Racing. They were starting to come on strong, but some frustrating times for those boys down there. This is our race leading car. The 01 Telmex Chip Ganassi Lexus Riley with Scott Pruitt on board. Well, if you look at the races in years gone by here, Dorse, the Rolex 24s, he's been dealt some hard cards, but it's certainly going his way here tonight. It's a strong run for Oriol Servia and the Doran.
No question about that, but I'll tell you who they better look out for. It's Bill Auberlen in the 05, the BMW Riley. He's turning lap times right now a full seconds quicker than any car on the track. By far the fastest for the last 3 laps in a row. Bill Auberlen, as you say, has the bootstrap between his teeth.
So Servia's running strong in this Ford-powered Doran. He's teamed up this year with Mimo Gidley and Michelle Jourdain Jr. and Harrison Bricks, so it's a very solid lineup. And we know that Doran builds strong, reliable cars. Of course, Doran has won this Rolex 24 at Daytona in the Daytona prototype era. So could it be their time again in 2007? Still a long way to go.
Kevin Doran also is a guy that's very stringent on running a set pace, a time that has been pre-designated by him, and that's why that car's just clicking off the numbers.
Here's the famous 59 for Brumos Racing. This is the Porsche-powered Riley with Portuguese driver João Barbosa behind the wheel. He's a real favourite of team principal Bob Snodgrass. He is fast, this guy. He's very quiet. He goes about his business in a very workmanly way. But when it comes time to put the hammer down, João Barbosa can certainly take care of business. He races open-top prototypes in Europe in the Le Mans Endurance Series. We'll see him again over there this year at the 24-hour, stepping back up to the main class at Le Mans this year, so we look forward to that. But for now, let's get some more on the thoughts of the team principal at Brumos, because João is on a mission.
He certainly is. Brumos Racing having a great day right now. Bob Snodgrass, team principal. Bob, you got 2 cars in the top 5. We talk about the 59 car. You've got a very stellar driver lineup there. You're trying to get Hurley another win here at Daytona. How are things going?
Things are going absolutely perfectly for us. And yes, we'd love to get Hurley another win at Daytona. Give him a record 7th. We've entered him on both cars as an insurance policy, but right now what we're worried about is making sure that everything just stays on plan.
Bob, you made the switch to the Riley chassis middle of last season, but over the course of the winter you've done a tremendous amount of work, and you believe you've got the key ingredient now in Gary Nelson to really turn this program around. Is it showing the benefits right now?
Well, Gary Nelson is a tremendous leader and a great psychological boost to the team, and I think what he's done is brought a sense of cohesiveness to the team that was not there before.
We're only just over 25% of the way through this long race, Bob. At this point of the game, what sort of strategy do you employ? Do you keep your drivers to a strict pace, or do you find that the pace of the race is such that you're running flat out?
No, what we're doing is we're not telling the drivers any pace at all. We feel as though that way they don't feel as though they have to prove anything to us. So I would say that we are just going to run a comfortable pace, and we'll run to the last 3 hours, and then we'll race.
That's what it's all about. It's very much like a basketball game. You just try and play there for that last quarter, Lee.
Thanks, Cal. And of course, basketball was never your strong suit, was it, being that short? But never mind. There are 4 guys out there, Dorse, that are flying at the moment. And that is Patrick Carpentier, Max Angelelli, João Barbosa, and Jorg Bergmeister. They are on it. They are flying.
Riding with Scott Sharp right now in the other Brumos car, the Red Bull, number 58. I am very impressed with the Brumos guys. I'm telling you, they're doing what they said they were going to do when they came down. And there's Scott Sharp sitting back there. The runner currently second, like you were talking about,
Scott knows what it's like to win here. He also knows what it's like to drive in the other Brumos car. He has at times raced in the 59, but for this year it is the Red Bull 58 machine, and he is in a wonderful scrap at the front of this field with Scott Pruitt. And you have to say, all four boys in this 58 have not put a foot wrong. As Gary Nelson looks on. Well, will they be smiling come 1:30 tomorrow afternoon? There's plenty to be excited about at the moment. Norbert Singer in the frame there with Bob Snodgrass. And, well, they are the stalwarts of Grand American Road Racing, Brumos. And for them to achieve victory here would be a really sweet deal. From the front, we move back a few positions to the 19, Finlay Motorsports, and Michael McDowell. Young Michael's running in 13th position at the moment. Massive year for him, Dorsey. We, of course, got to know him in Star Mazda, and then he stepped up to the Rolex Sports Car Series in Grand Am Cup, which is now Coney Challenge, up to the main series, and now he's off to ARCA this year.
And that's a big step for him. But, you know, we've seen Michael McDowell really progress as a young man. He got a little wild there for a while. They had to call him on the carpet for over-aggressive driving. He was having some accidents, but he took it to heart. And he's really done a great job. And now he's no longer a danger. He's very fast. He can win at anything.
Well, at a very young age, he's about 22, 23 now. He's done a lot, including some Champ Car racing as well. So we wish him well. And don't forget, you can see the ARCA races live here on Speed. And that starts in just a couple of weeks' time. Here's Jörg Bergmeister, defending Rolex Series DP champion. And now racing for Ruby Tuesday. Championship racing, the Porsche-powered Crawford, right across the road here at Ruby Tuesday. They are open 24 hours to watch the race.
They got a party going on over there.
They will have, for sure.
Got a good indication how well lit up this Daytona International Speedway is. When I first started racing here, these lights weren't here. It was a whole different story back then, but now, you know, if the headlights broke on your car, you could still drive around here just as quickly. But by the rules, you have to have at least one of them working.
Time to get back to pit road. Calvin Fish with Darren Manning.
And this team having a great run back in the top three. And Darren, the car's been running really quickly. You got a little bit of a break there under the last caution, got the lap back. What's the strategy from here on out?
Well, we're just going absolutely flat out, you know. We've got four great drivers. Milka's doing a great job hanging in there with us crazy guys. So, yeah, we're doing well. We went down nearly 3 laps early on. We managed to get 2 of them back under green, and then we got, like you said, we got that last one back under caution. So we're back in this race. I mean, we think it's a bit of a sprint. We're only about 7 or 8 hours in there, so long way to go yet, but we're perfect now. We can start calming down a little bit, take it a bit easier on the car. We pushed quite hard there to get those laps back.
It's going to be a big season for Darren Manning. He's sort of like been off the radar screen a little bit over the last season or two, but tell us about your plans for this year.
Yeah, it's great to be back in the IRL, you know, back in the game. You know, it's a bit hard there watching on the sidelines, especially when my old car, number 10, was winning all those races with Weldon, you know, so pretty tough. But, yeah, I'm great to the ABC, you know, Foyt car there. It's been in the doldrums a little bit over the last few years, so hopefully I can get it back up to victory lane where Foyt used to be.
When this 24-hour race is over, you're not going to get too far away from Daytona, I understand. You got a big test here this week. Talk about running an IRL car around this place. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be going pretty fast. I think we start trimming out downforce a little bit, which we don't normally like to do on a road course. So that just tells you how fast we're going to be going. Coming off this bank and into turn 1 is going to be pretty wild. It's wild in one of these things, so we take a little bit of a different track out the back here just after the horseshoe, because I don't think we'd get up on the banking coming out onto NASCAR 1. So, yeah, it's going to be good fun, and that's going to be my first time back in the car. And, yeah, 5 road courses, 17 races. You're looking forward to a good season.
And have a great year.
Cheers, Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah.
I didn't really mean that basketball comment. We are the same
I'll get
height.
you back, mate.
We are the same height. Now look at this SunTrust car. Angelelli, Max the Axe, is on a flyer. Car 10 is in position 10, and he's continually lapping in the 144s, 45s, 46s. He is punching out good lap after good lap, even in traffic.
And again, driving without the use of a clutch. Now, a problem he could have is if being this aggressive, if he bumps another car and he spins the car and stalls the engine, without the use of the clutch, he wouldn't be able to get the car refired without some help.
It seemed as though he was going a little conservative earlier in the race when he was leading. He only single stinted, came in, handed the car over. Here is the 74 GT leading car, and take that back because Eric Lux has lost the GT lead to Jorg Hart. The Farnbacher Lowe's car now leads the GT class, so a mistake there by Eric Lux, and that has been costly. And the sister car with Andrew Davis behind the wheel is not too far behind.
And look at the radiator inlet, full of grass. He's been off at the outside of turn 1 and packed that radiator. Now they might have to make a pit stop to clean that debris out if the temperature starts to rise.
Well, it has been a virtually faultless day for the 74 Tafel Porsche. Here's the replay.
Okay, down into turn 1, Gustavo Lux. Oh, now he's got a big, huge flat spot, that's for sure.
Whoa.
Now, that is just huge, massive lockup. So, I know for a fact those tires are square.
Plenty of runoff. That's one of the features here at the Speedway. And Eric Lux able to get it back on track and head back to pit road. Meanwhile, Scott Pruitt continues to lead. Pappas watches on. The Dual 150s are live here on Speed, February 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's the most exhilarating qualifying event in NASCAR, and it's right here on Speed. The Dual 150s, where the drivers have one last shot to race their way into the Daytona 500, live here on Speed. Don't miss it. The Dual 150s. Don't miss this either. Drama, major problems down at Tafel Racing, and Brian Till is there.
Well, Lee, we documented the problems for Eric Lux. He had that off in turn 1 a little while ago, but it seems to be more than just an innocent off in turn 1. Left front suspension problem, major left front suspension problem. The strut is actually pulled out of the top of its mounting, and also the upper A-arm has broken. The crew desperately trying to tie it back up. I'm not exactly sure why. Now I see they're going to try to now jack the car up and do what they can. They're going to have to roll this car behind pit wall. Remember, you cannot work on it for more than 5 minutes in pit lane, and this is going to be much more than a 5-minute repair, guys.
That looked a little bit more serious than just your normal brake lockup. When he got down, Eric Lux got into the brake zone. That car went berserk. You saw that smoke. He's too good a driver to have kept it locked down that long.
Well, and exactly that. Some props to him, a pat on the back for being able to control the car in that situation at the fastest part on the track. Well, speaking of a star-studded lineup, it's great to have this guy in a Daytona prototype. He's been all the way to Formula One, Cal, and he's in a strong position in this race.
He is, and in fact, Carl Wendlinger here was the first man to win a Grand Am race here at Daytona back in 2000 in an Oreca Viper. Carl, great to see you here again. Talk about the transition into a Daytona prototype for the very first time. How is it to drive?
Oh, I think the cars are very good to drive. I got used to it quite fast because they are really handling like a racing car. No pitching a lot, not rolling a lot. Really good cars to drive. Just I had to get used to the quite little grip from the tires. But I jumped in the car the first time on Thursday, and I got used to it quite soon.
What is the strategy of the team right now? Bill seems to be pushing awfully hard. He's running the fastest laps of the race right now. Are you trying to get back towards the leaders at this early stage? Or are you consistent and just going to try and run a pace?
It's difficult to say. I think it's too early. It's still 17 hours to go, and Bill does a great job. He's very fast. He brought us down again, now only 2 laps behind the leader, and I think we want to continue. Drive a fast and steady race, and then see at the end where we are.
All right, mate. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, Oberlin is trading fast laps with Max Angelelli. They're both going blow for blow in the 145s, which Joao Barbosa is going with them. So some fabulous lap times, and we've lost the Southern BMW. Car 3 has come to a stop, and Shane Lewis in the car right now, down on the inside of the apron.
And you can tell that's not a spin. He's driven it down there. Mechanical issue of some sort. After they worked so hard, this car completely destroyed in pre-season testing, and we really didn't think we'd see the car from the start, but they got her done.
Yeah, 2 late additions to this car as well, with outstanding young talent in Graham Rahal and Elliot Forbes Robinson, a former winner of this very event in that Southern Motorsports BMW. But Shane Lewis, stationary at the moment, just drove the car down in there to the inside. It should cause a full course caution. They should be able to retrieve that car okay and in a safe and timely manner. Keep an eye on it, though.
This is the time of the night as a driver. This is fun racing right now. It's no longer very hot out. It's cooling down. Visibility here at night is good. And the race car likes this kind of temperature as well. The engine makes more horsepower. The brakes don't get so hot. The tires don't get so hot. And you can actually run the fastest race laps of the entire race right under these conditions.
A lot of interesting cars in the field this year. This is a Howard Motorsports Infiniti G35. It's one of the new cars. Rob Wilson, John Lewis, Brian Sellers and Joey Hand. So a great driver lineup. They've experienced some problems. They blew a couple of engines this weekend, unfortunately. They had just some teething problems. This is a new car, a new program, new project, and they're finding the parameters of what this car can do. It tested very well at VIR just last Friday, and they're looking forward to the future.
And they did the only thing they could do. They were totally out of engines to put in there, so they put the test motor, the old mule motor, if you will. It doesn't make as much horsepower. They put a taller differential gear in there, so it turns less RPM, and it's still soldiering on now.
Yep, built by built by Crawford Composites, I should say. Crawford have done a nice job on that car. It sounds fantastic, and it runs reasonably well, but early days. We look forward to many races with that Infiniti in the Rolex Series. Cal?
Oh, one of the great teams down here in the pit lane is Southern Motorsports. Martha Southern, you guys have been having a great run here today, and it's great to see you here, but right now we see Shane stranded out on the racetrack. What's the problem?
I think we just shut down. We didn't have any power. They think it might be a belt, but we don't know yet.
Talk about what keeps bringing you and Steve back as car owners. I mean, there's so many big teams in this series, and you certainly don't have the budget that they have. There's something about this family and this team that really makes you keep coming back and competing against the big dogs.
We just have the passion for racing. We both love it. We have a terrific crew. They work their tails off for 3 weeks, and we can't stay away from it. It's just something we love. We're determined, and it's like the Energizer Bunny.
Well, hopefully you can get that thing fired back up and get some life into that race car.
We're going to try. We're going to keep trying. We're going to be here till the very end.
All right, best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we saw the Southern Lexus Riley being assisted back to the pits. There's our very own Bob Varsha with his son Matt, who's keen for a drive later tonight in the 42 Team Salem Porsche. Go get him, Matt. He won a Star Mazda race last year, and we hope he can enjoy his run later tonight here at the Rolex 24. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time, it is the Speed Report. Don't miss it. Go beyond the highlights, go beyond the stats. Get the why with the Speed Report tomorrow at 7 Eastern, right here on Speed. Back at the track, back at Daytona International Speedway, and back with RVO Motorsports. This is a Pontiac-powered Riley and Bill Lester. Yeah, we know Bill from the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but Bill has done a lot of road racing in years gone by. He's competed in IMSA GTO, Trans Am, World Challenge. However, Dawes, it's been some 6 years since he's done a sports car race, and he is really relishing the opportunity to be in a Daytona prototype.
He told me it was really fun to get back to his roots. His roots are in road racing. In fact, he was a student of mine at Skip Barber Racing School a million so years ago. He started in road racing. He does the Craftsman Truck Series very, very well. Great on high-speed ovals, but he's glad to get back to left and right-hand corners. This is what he likes to do.
This is one of the teams making the most of the rules with the maximum driver lineup of 5. Team owner Roger Schramm is in there. Jack Baldwin, who we know very well. Justin Bell and John Heinrichs. So 5 drivers in this RVO Pontiac Riley. And they're sitting a little further down the order, but just clicking around nicely in 18th place.
And you might wonder what that red light is on there on the back panel. That's actually behind Bill's head on the firewall, and that illuminates your dashboard. Instead of having dash lights, which would interfere with your visibility out of the windscreen, they have that red light behind you, and it lights the inside of the car for you.
Because we haven't seen a full course caution yet while we've been on air. Of course, one happened just before we came back. Something that the Grand American Road Racing Association has implemented for season 2007 beyond. Every car now has a caution light installed. So when the course goes full course caution, that amber-coloured light is illuminated within the cockpit, and an additional safety aspect to the series, which I think is fantastic. And everyone instantly knows when the course is under full yellow.
That is a wonderful safety idea. Now we're looking at the 16th Thetford. That is Rob Dyson, My old boss, by the way, a man I drove for quite a while, so did a lot of other drivers, behind the wheel of his own car. Of course, he keeps his team running for his son, Chris. Oh, we've had a problem. The 60 is augured in big time.
Whoa.
That has really done some big damage to the undertray. You can see all the mud up on top and over the hood. That's Mark Patterson in his own car, but this is going to do a lot of damage to the undertray. They'll be going to the pits if they can even get back going again. I think that'll be high-centered and stuck.
Mark is in a very precarious position. Whether he is able to engage reverse and try and help himself back out of there. It's on the exit of the bus stop. Here's the replay, Dawes. Talk us through.
And I know this is going to be a big impact there. You see brake lockup on the entrance. One of those cars, the second one, watch it. That's Mark Patterson. He goes off the outside, and look at that front splitter just dig in. And when it does that, it submarines you. Now the car won't break. It's broken something. Oh, my goodness. When it went off over there, it broke something. You could see Mark Patterson could not make the car turn. And the 59 now is on pit lane, and they might have had contact in the brake zone. That was one of the other cars where the brake lockup occurred.
Well, Barbosa was in the car at the time that occurred. He is a fast, aggressive driver. Cal, what's the deal down there?
Well, I don't see any damage to the car right now, Lee. There's a little bit of tape off on the nose, but other than that, it looks pretty routine here. Looks like they're changing the cool box for the driver cooling system. It's Hurley Haywood behind the wheel there. And everything looks routine. It looks like the Brumos guys called a pretty good shot there and getting both the 58, the lead car in, as well as the 59. So this may be good strategy here employed by the team. So we'll have to wait and see where the pace car comes out and how it affects the overall lead.
Well, we got a full course caution now. This will be our second one of the event. And that is, of course, due to the 60 car. Watch in the brake zone up right here. These cars, keep an eye on what happens here. You're going to see lockup. That's a 59 in front. There you see the tire smoke. And I think these two touch right here. I think those two cars are together. Now, Mark Patterson will turn down into this corner. He's the second car. Has too much speed. It's going to go right off across the curbing. And then the undertray just brings him down in. Now, it's broken something because he tries to make this corner. Left front tire's down, and he submarines into that dirt. That car will not be able to be towed back. That is why we're under the full course caution.
Mark Patterson, who, of course, won the Jim Truman Award last year. There he is. He was a race winner last year along with his regular teammate Oswaldo Negri Jr. This will be extremely frustrating for Mark. It's the catalyst for a second full course caution. And there's a flurry of activity on pit road, as you can imagine. Race leading car is in. That now elevates the 11 Samax Pontiac Riley of Patrick Carpentier, the Sitco car, into the race lead as Pruitt now exits pit road one more time. It just didn't look like he could steer, Dawes.
He couldn't. What he did was he got pushed across that curb, cut down the left front corner. The left front tire went down. He pushed off the outside. He dug into the dirt. Then when he tried to regain the course, he went into that soft dirt in that splitter in the front, just submarines the front of the nose and pushes it right into the ground. That's going to be an extensive repair. It's not just the tire that's ruined on that car.
Well, here is one of the 5 TRG Porsches 65. There is a guy in here who's a real Iron Man, Brett Milner, who is one of the competitors in this car, and various people do various things. We know the Team Seattle effort, what they have done for the Seattle Children's Hospital, a marvelous effort for over the years. Well, Brett is doing his piece in supporting a young guy who is suffering from leukemia, Patrick Pedrea of Palm Harbor in Florida. Now, Patrick is a real young character. He's only 11 years old. Of course, he's lost all of his hair due to the chemotherapy. Now, he, this year, is trying to recruit 2,007 donors to the National Marrow Donor Program Registry this year. So 2,007 donors in 2007. Brett Milner is supporting that drive. What he's doing, Dawes, is he's selling space on his bald head. He's a gutsy young guy, and he's doing this. It's a one-child's dream. It's called Driving for Donors. The family are going to make a trip across country. It's a very good cause. He is a bright young man with hopefully a bright future, and thank you, Brett Milner. He's doing a wonderful job in supporting that. So good on you, Patrick Pedrea. Go get him, mate, and all the best with that, as this man needs a little help too. Mark Patterson is stranded.
Yeah, this car is not going to be easy to get up out of there. They're going to have to lift the front of it a little bit. When they tow him out of there, he's going to have somewhere around a half a ton of dirt that's going to have to be disposed of before he comes onto this racing surface.
So the 65 TRG Porsche is released. And we'll get a look at this new style formation under yellow Dorsey, and you can explain that for our viewers as well, because it seems to be working quite effectively as we talk about Team Seattle and their wonderful charity drive. And Don Kitch Jr. is really the driving force behind that. These guys come here each and every year, Team Seattle Racing, and what they do for the Seattle Children's Hospital, and the money gets spread right around. They are raising money for the kids, and as Bob mentioned earlier in our earlier show, they have exceeded $2.2 million over the years. That number continues to grow with each and every lap they complete. So to Team Seattle, to Don Kitch and all of the people involved in that project, thank you. We know that you support that cause so well, and we support you guys also. Calvin.
Well, major drama down here under caution, Lee. The number 11 car, the lead car, was coming into the pits. Patrick Carpentier couldn't find his pit box, had to drive straight on by, and has to go back out onto the racetrack. So this is going to cost them dearly in track position. The team were all fired up. There are big smiles everywhere. Pit lane got very crowded. Patrick just couldn't find the pit box.
He had the lead of the race. That is super costly.
I've done it before myself. It's easy to miss your box. If you miss your box, around you go, you lose all those.
Did you see the guy in the middle of that last shot with the dark hair? Well, that was the team owner. He will be gutted. Let's see what they can do. They need to regroup when we come back to the Rolex 24. Quite the sight, isn't it? Daytona Alive at night time. We're going at a slower pace somewhat at the moment under our second full course caution. 235 laps in the books already, and what is a packed infield here at Daytona International Speedway. Calvin.
Well, Patrick Carpentier had mixed his pit box there, and now they get the car back down pit lane. Darren Manning behind the wheel. They took time underneath this caution period to actually change the wiper. The wiper blade had torn off. There is threat of rain here this evening, so they made a smart choice there in getting a full wiper blade back on that machine. So Darren Manning now, he's only done a single stint here so far in this race. We talked to him earlier, he's very pumped up. I'm sure he'll do a great job. Peter Barron was pretty calm about the fact that they did miss that pit box. They made a mistake, but no panic there. And let's get down to Brian.
Calvin, more problems for the Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing team. Down in the very last stall in pit lane. Just got the report that car is going to have to go back to the garage. They will do a gearbox change and, of course, do a driver change, because that is going to be a lengthy repair. Seems like the second year in a row that bad luck is continuing for Alex Job and his Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing team, guys.
And Brian, in addition to that, in front of Jörg Bergmeister, it looked like the 77 Kodak Doran was also heading into the garage. So a nightmare for both those teams back in the paddock in their respective garages. So a lot of work still to be done, and that shakes things up within the top 10. It doesn't necessarily shake things up at the front of this field, because Scott Pruitt continues to lead the way over Scott Sharp and Bill Auberlen. Darren Manning in that 11 will sit in fourth place over Hurley Hayward. Now this is the wave by door, so I'll handball this to you and just talk us through this new format of restarting.
This is a new procedure that they've just implemented, and basically once the field is caught behind the pace car and everything under control, all of the GT cars, the slower class cars, drop to the left side of the racetrack. Then they get waved by, the ones that are supposed to get waved by. They will reform up in single file at the back of the Daytona or the prototype cars. So what happens basically is under the next green flag, when we do go green, all the prototypes will be racing one another, and all the GT cars will be racing one another, and they'll be separated from one another. And it's a pretty good idea. It keeps things from, yellow flags, and I always say, cautions breed cautions. Yeah. And if you mix slow cars in with fast cars, you always get another caution after you go back to green. It's not happening because we've split the cars up. I really like this idea.
Scott Dixon and Bill Auberlen back on pit road. Cal.
He is, and this team really playing the strategy very well here. They brought him in at the last ditch here, try and make a good pit stop there, get the car full of fuel. Matt Al-Hadaf is behind the wheel now. Certainly doesn't have the experience of Bill, but the key what they need from Matt is a good, clean stint here. Don't make any mistakes. Don't take any chances. Just bring the car back to pit lane. in good shape, and Bill has really been tearing the course up, and this team has just done a tremendous job. We talk about all the changes they've made over the off-season. We've got a lot of new personnel in here, and it is really showing. The car was fast in the test week that we had early in January. It's been fast all weekend long.
And again, Steve Dynan builds the engines for that car. The only BMW powered car running up there like that. And he will be ecstatic to see the success of that team.
It's one of the Banner Racing Pontiac's GXP-Rs. And this is the lineup of Paul Edwards, Kelly Collins, and Andy Pilgrim. Johnny O'Connell is, in fact, in the 06. Brian.
Having a great night down here at the Banner Engineering team. These Pontiac GXP-Rs running well. As a matter of fact, Kelly Collins brought the 07 in second place. Andy Pilgrim taking over the wheel. Both of these guys very talented. Biggest problem with this car right now, it sits a little higher off the ground and has a larger frontal area than those Porsches. Doesn't have the straight line speed. A lot of development yet to go, but running in the top 10 with both cars right now, not a bad day at all, Calvin.
It isn't, and Bill Auberlen is certainly having a good day as well. Bill, don't hurt yourself here, mate. Talk about the race car. You seem to have the fastest car on the track right now.
I don't know if I have the fastest car, but we can run with a lot of people, and it stops so good. It doesn't quite have the top speed, but the infield we have covered. I mean, the Luggage Express, Dynan powered, BMW, Riley, awesome. These guys have done it. Look, this team is like brand new, and the car's running like a champ. And you know, we'll put Matt in it, cycle Carl in, and he's an awesome driver, and then off we go.
We're only 7 or 8 hours in here, Bill. How patient do you need to be at this stage of the game?
You know, we're not going to win this by outrunning anybody. I mean, yeah, we made 2 laps back on the whole field, and that in my 2 stints there. That's great, but we can't expect to do that every time. We got to be perfect, and we can't make any mistakes.
Matt and Gene certainly don't have the experience of you and Carl. What do you tell them when they get in the car? What do you tell them during the stint, Bill? What do they need to do?
There's nothing that we can fix that if they just took it a little bit easier, that would be way better. So tell them, just take it easy, you know, be smart, don't take any chances out there, let Carl do that, and just bring it always home in perfect condition, and that's all we need.
All right, mate, best of luck.
Thanks.
The 60 is back on pit road and looking a lot better than what it did last time we saw it. And this is Oswaldo Negri Jr. behind the wheel, and he is released, and he's got some work to do, but if anyone can do it, Oz can. We'll be back. The 45th running of the Rolex 24 at Daytona, live here on Speed. Great to have you. The world center of racing. We are still under a full course caution, but still have so much more to come. Welcome back, everyone. Lee Diffie and Dorsey Schrader with you here in the Speed booth. Calvin Fish and Brian Till down on pit road. And it's been beautiful weather here in Central Florida today. It's been a little chilly this week. However, we are expecting rain overnight and early morning. Now here's the rundown for you. This is what's gone down so far today. We're on lap 238, 9 different leaders, 15 lead changes, and our respective class leaders. Of course, 2 races in one, the Daytona Prototype class, the GT class, Scott Pruitt and Dirk Werner, your respective leaders. And we are getting well and truly into this thing now. 16 and a half hours to go, so there's already a good chunk gone, but so much racing to go. It makes it so difficult here at the Rolex 24. So much of it in the hours of darkness. The 23 Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing Porsche is still in pit lane. That's Patrick Long, the American Porsche factory driver behind the wheel. He's taken over from Jörg Bergmeister. And this is the 60, the Mike Shank racing car. This is the car with Elio Castro Neves and Sam Hornish Jr. in it, but it's Oswaldo Negri behind the wheel right now. Back in again, and Dorsey, we have got a race at the front when we go green.
We do, but did you see the slop in the steering wheel in the 23? That's not supposed to be that way. This is going to be a great restart. This is for the position, for the lead. Pace car off.
You've got Pruitt and Sharp at the front. No one between them. This is for the lead of the motor race, and the green flag flies at Daytona. Let's get back to it, and Sharp is looking racy. Look at him on the inside. The IndyCar star going for the regular Rolex Series racer. Pruitt defends on the inside through one. This is good stuff.
Darren Manning right behind them.
It is Telmex Chip Ganassi Racing up against Brumos Racing. The Porsche-powered Red Bull Riley doing all the chasing.
Now, last restart, Scott Pruitt's car got quick faster than did Scott Sharp. I don't know if that's going to happen again or not, but Pruitt takes the lead.
It's a Lexus versus a Porsche. They're both Rileys. It's a 3-man driver lineup versus a 4-man driver lineup in Brumos. Each of the respective power plants have their own unique sound, but that Porsche is something else, the way it whistles along.
It turns the most RPM of all the engines, the configurations out there. That one turning into 95, 96, 100 RPM range. Great sounding car.
At this stage of the race, Dorsey, you're Scott Pruitt. Do you say, Scott Sharp, if you want me that badly, you can have me go and knock yourself out, or do you just maintain your lead?
I think Scott Pruitt and Scott Sharp, of course, through the Trans Am days, have raced against one another, me included, for so long that you know that you can trust one another inherently. He knows Scott Sharp will not come up there and jeopardize both of their opportunities. On the other hand, you know, if he comes up and puts too much heat on, yeah, I can see Scott saying, all right, Scott, take it.
Look at how they've gapped the rest of the field. Stunning first flying lap at the restart.
These guys have done battle, as I say, many, many years in the old Trans Am series, so they're familiar with one another.
One of the big headlines involving Car 01 for Telmex Chip Ganassi Racing was the two rookies in sports car racing to partner Scott Pruitt in one, Pablo Montoya and Salvador Duran, who has really impressed the Ganassi squad. Calvin?
He really is. All of the drivers this weekend have come up and talked about Salvador and what a great job you've been doing. The team have been very impressed with your approach, your pace here this weekend. Talk about the experience of driving for Chip Ganassi Racing here at one of the biggest races in the world, Salvador.
It has been very nice. I think Chip has given me an awesome opportunity, Telmex as well, and Scott and Pablo, they have just opened to me, they have helped me in everything, and I feel just great, you know. We're doing good times, we're running okay, and we want to win.
Certainly you have quite a bit of experience in open wheel cars, not so much in sports car racing, but talk about the pressure when you come in and you're trying to help one of the championship favourites, Scott Pruitt. This is such an important event in getting his championship charge off to a good start. Do you really feel that pressure this weekend?
Yeah, I think we're okay. I think I can do the job, and since they asked me, I said I can, and I have to demonstrate it in the track. Now the first stint was okay, now we need to push in this next two to keep the car in first position, or at least keep it consistent, because we want to get to the end, and for sure we want to get the checker flag.
Awesome job so far, mate. Enjoy the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Yet another graduate of the Skip Barber National Series. Here's the Ruby Tuesday Porsche, the Crawford chassis, and Pat Long behind the wheel. It's back out, which is good. That was a reasonably quick fix, but boy, it's been a frustrating day for these guys. Dropping down the order even further and continuing to play catch-up. Now, Jörg Bergmeister had done a stunning job and was right up there vying for a top 10 spot. They're back down in 18th now. 228 laps versus 241 for the race-leading car of Scott Pruitt, who we ride with now. Would you like to take a listen? Let's ride with Pruitt for a moment. Wow, look at the traffic here. Talk about a tough deal. Work your way through or fall behind. It is on. 59, Hurley Hayward, the 5-time Rolex winner. He is right in the thick of that. There he is, trying to force his way through. Scott Dixon is in the mix. Boris Sett is in the mix. Max Angelelli. And the AIM Autosport car of Brian Frizzell also well and truly in there. And that second Ganassi car, Scott Dixon, right in there. The defending Rolex 24 winner. Now a little further up the road, sitting in third outright and on the lead lap, is the 11 for Samax. Team principal Peter Barron. We saw him looking pretty devastated earlier when Patrick Carpentier missed his pit box, but it hasn't hurt them that much. They did lose the lead of the race, but here we go. Look at this. Former teammates in the IndyCar Series, Scott Dixon in the 02 and Darren Manning in the 11. They know each other very well. They raced hard together.
Darren Manning, trying to make up for that miscue in the pits, is really driving the car quite hard right now.
Whoa! Dixon gets it sideways.
I told you he was driving it hard.
He did a brilliant. He was almost in that car 3 hours from the green flag, Scott Dixon. He has adapted to sports car racing brilliantly, and Manning is doing a nice job. Remember, Manning's first time in a Daytona prototype was with Scott Dixon 2 or 3 years ago here at the Rolex 24.
And you can tell these cars no longer have the traction control. You can see the tail wag as these guys apply the power. Do the power slide up onto the banking here. I'm a great proponent for no traction control. Let the drivers drive the car.
Peter Barron was telling me with this Samax Pontiac Riley that in comparison to some of the other teams, they will put a special 24-hour engine in the back of it. He said, we don't. We just run with our regular engines because we know we can get that life out of them. We run it a little bit more conservatively, but they run strong, and we've got good speed. He said, so we're not going to do anything special. We'll just run our regular program.
Well, one of the things that's changed drastically in endurance racing, particularly with this Grand Am prototype class, is that these are cars derived off the street-based engines. They're only making 500 horsepower, and that's not hard for the engine to make. They're not turning monster revs. They're not that exotic. They are very, very bulletproof. As a result of that, the drivers can drive them at 100% throughout the 24-hour race and not worry about blowing things up. And when you say running them a little bit conservative, well, what that means is they just turn the ECU. They take a little timing out, put a little more richness fuel mixture in, and they let the car dig.
Look at this train of traffic. Fantastic stuff. As the boys down at Ganassi, well, they deserve a rest, don't they? They've been working hard so far, but there's still so much more to come. Welcome back to the Rolex 24. One of the great things about this race is that it is more than that. It is more than just a race meeting. It is an event. And we have got something special for you now as our own Mike Johnson is down at the Pontiac Garage.
Live from the Pontiac Garage, it's Louis the 14th!
Lollipop you wanna lick. She says, oh, does that shit work with other girls? Speed's coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona is brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. Simple, fresh American dining from start to finish. And powered by Pontiac and the 260 horsepower Solstice GXP.
Let's get back to the business at hand here at the Rolex 24. Welcome back, Patrick Long. In the Ruby Tuesday, Porsche Crawford. Great to be back out on track after that time spent in the garage. Although a few moments ago he had a nervous moment with Gaston Mazzacane.
In the braking zone for the International Horseshoe, you see the contact there. Now both cars got knocked into neutral or something. Watch this, it looks like he's forcing him off the road. And right about here, gets it refired and goes on down the road.
This is the onboard shot. You ride with Pat Long.
Coming out of turn 2, heading up toward the International Horseshoe in the brake zone right here. Tries the inside line up the middle. There's the contact. Just a little stumble,
I'm not sure if that was a little stumble or a little bit about think about what you're doing, buddy.
Would have been that as well.
And from a Porsche to a Mazda, and the familiar roar of the rotary in the RX-8. This is on board the 70, the Speed Source car with Sylvain Tremblay and Dave Haskell and Randy Popes. Randy, of course, who is a GT class winner here at the Rolex 24. He's behind the wheel of this magnificent machine. And there's several Mazda RX-8 in the field this weekend. And Brian is with a special guest.
Two of those Mazda RX-8s are from Speed Source, but what I've got right now is John Doonan with me from Mazda Motorsports. And John, this program I know is near and dear to your heart at Mazda Motorsports. Two of these cars, I understand they're going to be here all year long.
That's right, Brian. We made a commitment to run a full season here. We're a sports car company, so being here is important. The RX-8 obviously is our top-level sports car. We've set it up as a customer car program, which is great. The folks at Speed Source will be doing that for us. It's a body kit. Downing Atlanta does it. Jim's been a big part of our history. 3-rotor power, and we're really proud of the program so far.
And the marketing message that it sends is obviously a strong one.
That's absolutely right. Always the soul of a sports car, Mazda.
And your best friend, obviously, is Sylvain Tremblay, because he gets to drive one of those cars all season long. Great to see both of them out there. You guys running very strong here. We saw him a couple of times last year with some problems, but so far, knock on wood, very strong. I noticed, though, fuel mileage not quite as good as the Porsches. What is that going to do to you over the length of this race? Are you going to have to do it one extra stop than they will?
Obviously, our strategy was to get better fuel mileage. We worked pretty much a year to get to. The Porsches are doing a little bit better than we thought. Our straight line speed is down to them also, so it's not a real good combination. However, we have monster brakes and amazing handling. The balance of our little car and the tire wear. So, I mean, if you got to choose one or the other, we get a well-handling, well-balanced car that's rocket solid as far as rotor reliability. So, zoom, we'll see what happens.
Zoom, you heard it, guys. And as he said, reliability has always been the strong suit of the Mazda, so they've got their fingers crossed for 24 hours.
Can't forget about Nick Ham. He is also in that number 70 Speed Source Mazda. And they have done, Dave Haskell was telling me, literally thousands of miles of testing in these RX-8s. Jim Lowe in the TRG Porsche. And where are they sitting at the moment? Currently 8th in class, which is not a bad effort. 27th overall. Pretty sure Jim would be reasonably satisfied with that at this time in the race. Been an interesting road to this year's Rolex 24 for Jim Lowe. He ran here this time last year. He ran a handful of other Rolex Sports Car Series race last season in preparation for the big one right here, right now. Jim Lowe may look like your average race car driver. However, he's anything but average.
I'm the underachiever in the family. My mother, when I told her I was going into brain surgery, looked at me and says, "Is that all you're going to do with your life?" So I decided to do other things. A year ago, great fun. The objective is a little different this year than it was a year ago. And 2 years ago, my objective was to make sure I set my VCR right. You know, so now it's very different. It's very exciting. It's unbelievable.
Pretty amazing character, and he just happens to like sports car racing and wants to do a lot more of it. Very good friends, and of course teammates with Jim Pace, who has really helped him to get up to this level, and he and Jim would like to do as many races this season as they possibly can, so we wish them well. And with guys like Ralph Kalleners and Johannes van Overbeek in that car, they will climb the ladder from their 8th position in class from where they are now. They should very well be contenders come 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. Let's get down to pit road.
Well, Dan Weldon's looking a bit sleepy, mate. How you feeling? You look a little bit tired right now.
No, it's not too bad. It's just you're used to me. You're used to me with gel in my hair and looking all prim and proper. But this is the Rolex Daytona 24-hour race. But no, it's we had a few little problems early on, but our pace doesn't seem to be too bad. We're not perhaps as quick as we would like right now, but I think as the night goes on, we'll just keep clicking laps off, and hopefully we'll make up the bit of ground that we lost.
Now, you know Lee Diffie's back for the season here with Grand Am Racing. You got anything to say to him?
Man, speed must be getting desperate, but oh yes. Good luck, Lee. Lee, somebody signed you up, right?
Let's go down to Brian.
We talk about the champions that are here. One of those guys, Wally Dallenbach. Wally, you've won this race 4 times in a class. I got to ask you this question. I mean, the Rolex watch, it's one of the big prizes that gets given away. You won this thing back in the 80s. Were they giving watches away then?
No, they weren't. and I've never bought a Rolex watch because I really, really want to earn one, and this is the place to do it. So, I think they did that right after we won like 4 of them in a row.
Well, he's won this thing 4 times. It's great to come back and run with your brother. You and George Robinson, the guys, coming. Is this for fun or is this for winning?
No, it's fun. We've got Catherine Lake with us this year. You know, we come here, these guys race this race. This is the only race they do all year long. So we know we're not going to beat these guys that run every weekend on speed. But we feel like we've got a good enough car. We've got good enough lap times. If we can just keep running, kind of the tortoise and the hare, I mean, I really feel like we've got a top 5 car if we can just keep the car on the track and running.
Well, on a more serious note, racing is about a fraternity. It's about the fraternity of drivers and all of us guys that are around it doing television and everything. And that fraternity lost one of its special members recently. I know Benny Parsons, very close to you. I know it had to hurt. It hurt all of us.
It really did. I mean, Benny Parsons was a Grand Marshal for this race last year. And, you know, we had a lot of great times in the last 6 years. And I don't think it's sunk in really yet. I mean, I found myself this week looking for him. You know, and BP always, him and I used to ride to and from the racetrack, 24-hour Daytona, because we both have places in Spruce Creek. And, you know, he's going to be missed. He was such a fun guy to be around. And anybody that met BP, that was the first thing that came to your mind was how much fun that guy was. And I am going to miss his laugh and those stories at dinner. It's going to be tough. And I don't think it's really going to hit until we get back in the swing of things and people are going to look for him. He's not going to be there.
Well, as we said, guys, the fraternity has lost one of its members, and you can hear one champion, Wally Dallenbach, talking about another. Benny Parsons, he will be missed. Lee?
Most certainly will, Brian. Most certainly will. We wish Wally all the best. Their run is going reasonably well at the moment. We hope they continue to run strong throughout the night and have some fun. Let's talk the 0-0 car at the moment, the Vision Racing. Crawford. This is the all IndyCar lineup in this car. At the moment, they're sitting back in 30th position overall, well down in the prototype class, but they've had some troubles, and they're continuing to run. Thomas Schechter behind the wheel. And we have a crash on track. Wow. This event so far, 254 laps old, has been relatively crash-free.
These cars all look like they can make it back on their own. I don't think we're going to get a caution out of this. That's a 0-8 that we can see. We'll take a look. We'll take a look on board the number 58 car, who might be able to show us what's happened here.
Well, that's the Golden Brothers RX-8, the 08 machine. It's right in the middle. This is on board the Brumos Porsche. Look up ahead.
Going toward turn 8 now. Which
How about that? How lucky was Scott Sharp? Second place in the race. Was there any damage sustained?
Let's look this way at it now.
See, so the 6 has gone one side.
Oh, and he bounces off. Oh, he takes both of them.
Oh, and that is the 41 Team Salem car.
And it is damaged. Badly damaged on the left rear of the Brumos Porsche. Now watch this in slow motion. The Porsche in front of you, the 41, is going to hit the 6. Does so right there. Ricochets off, hits the number 58, spins him, and that's just the beginning of it, because behind that, the stack up does indeed collect a couple more cars.
And that was AJ Allmendinger in the 6, and he is on pit road right now. And the 41 Team Salem car right in the middle. Here's Scott Sharp, and he got hammered, and now is on pit road as well. Loosening his belts, coming in. The team will examine that damage.
Well, it didn't look good on the 58. It looked like it hit right on the rear wheel, and that's a very vulnerable place to be hit.
As Scott came into pit road, there was smoke trailing from the rear left of that car. Calvin is on the spot. Let's examine this situation.
Well, the right front is locking up as you get that diagonal crossweight, but right now the damage is to this left rear. It is really torn up. The wheel is jacked up in the air. There's bodywork damage to the side pod. This is not going to be a quick fix. One of the keys here with the team is they have to determine how many men would really be helpful in making this repair. They need the full crew on board. They'll probably put it behind the wall, so the first thing they'll probably do is get this deck off the back, take a look at the suspension, and see how long this repair is going to be. This is a devastating blow to this team. We spoke to Bob Snodgrass just a short while ago, and he said everything was running so smoothly. But right now, there is major damage to the 58 Brumos Porsche car.
That was just a freaky deal. That was a freaky situation where Scott Sharp was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not his own fault. He was just executing a pass on a lapped car.
Similar thing to what happened with Alex Gurney. There was nothing right there that Scott Sharp could do. When the Porsche bounced off the 6 car, AJ Allmendinger, it ricocheted. It came across, hit him right there solidly on that left rear wheel. And that, like I said, is a place very vulnerable as they now were determined this car is going to have to go to the garage.
Well, I'll tell you what, deja vu. Let's take a look at something from last year. It was at a much later stage in the race. The 58 Red Bull Brumos car was vying for a podium when there was contact from Scott Dixon in the Ganassi car, the target car. Take a look at this. They were fighting. This was towards the end of the race. And freaky, it's the same side, exactly the same area of the car, got punted into the tyre wall. That took them out of podium contention, and exactly the same damage is what we see right now. Again, an innocent situation, wrong place, wrong time, and this is the man who was in the middle.
Here was Scott Sharp. Scott Sharp, what happened, mate?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it was, you know, the Brumos car is running great. The guys have all done a great job, and really just taking it easy, running with Pruitt and some of the other guys. And we split a Porsche, and I don't know if the Porsche hit Allmendinger or what, but all of a sudden he just moved right over. I was almost by him. You know, his right front hit my left rear. And I'm going by him on the outside there, and he just comes across and tags me. So I guess those two touched, and it pushed him into me. I don't know. It's a shame. We're just, you know, trying to stay out of trouble, trying to stay out of any kind of real big traffic, and just hopefully guys get it fixed and we get back in things.
Here's another look from on board, mate. Talk us through it.
You know, we're just trying to get through traffic. I thought the guy was going to push AJ out, so I went to the right. Seemed pretty wide open, and I think they touched. There, he hit me and spun me around.
What sort of pace were you running, Scott? I mean, you were able to hang on to Pruitt there, the leader of the race, and we're only 8 hours into this thing, so there's a long way to go. How much did you have left, and how was the pace of the car?
There's no sense stretching it too far. You know, just cruising right behind Scott. Traffic would sort of open and close us a little bit, and a couple chances maybe I had if I wanted to really press the point, but it's way too early to do that. So real content to just ride, and they said AJ was coming pretty hard and you're trying to make some laps back, so he got underneath me and I let him go and tucked in behind him.
Tough break for Scott Sharp. Let's go down to Brian with the GT car that was involved with the crash.
Calvin. Tom Malloy was just surveying the damage to his Porsche. A little bit of damage on the left front where he made the contact with the 6 car, but if you look over to the right front where he made the contact with Scott Sharp's number 58 Brumos Porsche, you can see serious damage to this Porsche. So I think really Sharp maybe got the worst end of that stick, obviously running well in the race, and now they are well back.
And we have a report that the Grand American Road Racing officials want Tom Malloy out of that car that is on pit road. We'll follow that story when we come back. It's all happening here at Daytona. Reminding you that the Rolex 24 here at Daytona, Part 3, continues tomorrow at 6 in the morning. That's Eastern, 3 a.m. Pacific. And, of course, we will be live. We're going to bring you unprecedented coverage of this year's Rolex 24. All of the superstars from a variety of motorsport from here in America and around the world. 6 in the morning Eastern. It's an early start. Hope you can be with us. And let's talk Pontiac for a moment. The new GXP-R, the 06, the 07. And this has been an exciting project. Johnny O'Connell is currently behind the wheel of the 06. Let's find out a little bit more about it. And the man involved is Leighton Reese.
Well, this is the new Pontiac GXP, and this is the GXP.R version. One of the unique things about Pratt Miller is their concern for driver safety. Here we have inside this box, we have honeycomb compressible energy absorbing structures. You know, this is in lieu of maybe bending the door bars out to give the driver more room. It's accomplished the same thing, but keep the chassis stiffer. The car's got a dual fire system, which is unusual for race cars. There's one for the fuel cell and one for the driver and engine compartment. The craftsmanship on this car is just exquisite. I mean, all the carbon fiber body panels accurately reproduce the stock ones. We've got little vents and stuff that are actually stock. It's going to be a shame to race it because it's so rough and tumble out there.
Well, Steve Wesolowski is the road racing manager for General Motors. We just heard Leighton Reese talk about this new GXP based off of the G6 Pontiac. Last year it was the GTO, now it's the G6. From a marketing standpoint, Steve, and General Motors' point of view, to be in the Rolex Sports Car Series, why? Why this car? Why in this series?
Well, you know, we're not selling the GTO anymore, and Pontiac has come out with the GXP line. Performance is part of Pontiac's description of what they want to be, part of their mission statement. And really, how can you talk about performance without being in racing? So that's why we're here, trying to legitimize the brand, add a little masculinity to the G6 GXP, make it look cool, make people want to buy it, and add a little bit of performance to the Pontiac lineup.
And it certainly doesn't hurt from a performance view standpoint to look out and do battle with Porsches and Mazdas as well.
Absolutely. You know, Pontiac's kind of gotten a second hand at, you know, in the middle of the road, but if we're competing against Porsche, Lexus, Ferrari, we're up there competing.
Well, we understand there's a big crash out on track, so we got to go. Thanks, Steve.
Massive accident. Massive accident. It looks like the 18 Porsche Fab car to me with Gaston Mazzacane. It looks like the 18, the XM Satellite car for VC Racing.
This is in a very, very strange place to have an accident. I have to theorize this car has come from a long way away to make this impact on what's that guardrail protecting that light down there. This is not a normal part of the racetrack. I think possibly this could have been a spin at the kink that has brought the car this far. Not sure. We'll have to take a look here. This is a very strange position for a car to end up in.
It's in a weird spot, isn't it? So Mazzacane, the driver, the 87 Porsche, just gone off by itself. That is unrelated. But Mazzacane is the driver in question right there, center of screen, in the XM Satellite Radio VC Fab car.
That is turn 7.
He's been exiting turn.
This is a spin from the king.
Yeah.
All the way to that telephone pole. what will happen is that as he comes through this left-hand corner at full throttle, you know, I think he lost it here. The car's probably come across in a trajectory like so to make impact over there. We'll have to look at it, but it's far off the racing surface, and that is the fastest corner on the entire infield, that kink.
Now, due to where that car has come to a stop,
you know what's strange, Lee, is I don't. There is right there some skid marks you see coming along up through here. This is a very long way. I had a spin there a few years back. You're going very, very quickly, and that grass doesn't slow you up.
Due to where he's come to a stop, Dorsey, we have been able to continue under green flag racing. There is no full course caution because they're able to retrieve him from there. Depends on how he is physically, and we hope that Gaston Mazzacane, the Argentine driver, is okay.
The funny thing about it is where the cars ended up, it couldn't have got there from there. You know, this is a very bizarre crash right here.
Well, now we go yellow. Now we go full course yellow. Third one for the race. We went 199 laps without a caution. And now at 262, we're up to number 3.
And that was just 29 laps ago we had our last one. This is a very, very strange situation.
Here's our race leader, Scott Pruitt. Boy, he's done a great job today. He won Pablo Montoya, Salvador Duran, and the Telmex Ganassi Lexus Riley. He loosens his belts just slightly, and he's heading down pit road. It's time for Montoya to get back in the car. Calvin's on the spot.
Well, Scott Pruitt just completing a double stint. There's going to be Salvador Duran getting in here. We spoke to him just a few minutes ago. A very confident young man, but very accomplished even at a very young age. He's won a couple of A1 GP races for his national Mexico team, actually in the States at Laguna Seca. And right now, this team feel that they have a very good car underneath them. I spoke to Tim Keane a little bit earlier in the event. He said we're getting great mileage because we're running a very trimmed out and low downforce setup. Right now, the mechanics are checking in to the brakes. Typically, they're going through about 3 sets of front pads during one of these 24-hour races. And I spoke to the guys from PFC, which is equipped on this car, Performance Friction Brakes, and they said that with the traction control this year, they're actually starting to use a little bit more front bias on the setup because the cars go a little bit loose. If you got too much rear bias, like yanking on the e-brake and turning the car into the corner too quickly, that's putting more load on the front brakes, which are the ones that go away first anyway. So brake wear may be an issue running without traction control this year.
You got a frog in your throat? What's going on?
I'm a bit sick down here, mate, but I'm hanging in there.
Bedtime soon, mate. Bedtime soon. So things going well down there in the Ganassi camp. Pruitt has finished another successful stint, and there he is immediately debriefing with the gang. And Salvador Duran, so they give Montoya an extended break. Duran back behind the wheel of the 01, and the field comes to a slower pace for the third time.
You know, that infield kink, what we're talking about in there is a top gear corner. You're in your highest gear. You can do it wide open.
Let's give you a rundown as we ride on board with Patrick Long. Darren Manning, due to that Ganassi stop, inherits the lead for Samax Racing. Then Salvador Duran is second. Matthew Al-Hadaf is third for Siegel Sport. Then Scott Dixon is fourth. So 2 Ganassi cars in the top 4. Hurley Hayward is now the best of the Brumos cars in 5th. Angelelli, boy, just keeps chipping away and has worked his way back up into 10th, just 2 laps down on the leaders. Brian Frizzell in the AIM Autosport Lexus Riley, an outstanding performance from that young team, guided by David Empringham, a champion driver, is 7th. Then Tracy Crone is 8th. The second Samax car is 7th. Is 9th with car 7, and that is a mighty job there as well. And then Oriol Servia rounds out the top 10. Here's Scott Pruitt.
Scott, great stint there once again. How's the car performing tonight?
Telmex car's great. Thing just hitting all its marks. We've really trimmed the car out, so we got some pretty serious straightaway speed. The trade-off is that through the turns, we just got to be a little bit more on top of it. But the car's working great. I'm not pushing it too hard. Putting in some great laps. Hi to my family at home. So it's good. Just keep our fingers crossed, keep doing what we're doing. Now it's get out of the car for about 4 or 5 hours, let Salvador and Juan go to work.
Now, if we get a lot cooler conditions, it seems pretty warm here in the early evening, Scott, but if it cools down any further, will you need to put more downforce in the car? Will it be too tricky to drive?
No, it seems like it's getting better and better. The cooler conditions, we're getting more downforce. We can handle a little bit more towards the front. So if anything, as it gets cooler, it's coming back to us, and we'll just go faster.
You were getting pressure from behind from various cars throughout the course of this race, 58 car there towards the end. Does that increase your pace, or do you just stay with your game plan?
There's a few guys that are driving pretty crazy out there, and I'm just letting them go. The 58 car, myself, he kind of sneak up on me a little bit when he got jammed in traffic, but I slowly just kind of inching away. But it wasn't like, driving crazy. It was just like, okay, just be careful. I mean, we still got a long way to go.
Talk about your two teammates. Obviously, JPM, everyone knows his history and experience, but this young kid, Duran, he seems sensational.
Both those guys are just fantastic. They both put in great stints. They're running strong. They're running smart. Right now, we just got to keep doing what we're doing. We got a lot of hours left to go, and everybody's just doing a fine job.
All right, mate, get some rest.
Thanks, man.
Do you remember earlier in the broadcast, Dorsey and I were mentioning about that illuminated amber light, and there it is. It indicates immediately when there is a full course caution, and Dorse, that's a great implementation by the Grand American Road Racing Association in the name of safety.
It is, because there's places on this racetrack where you're between corners where there isn't a corner crew there. You're not yet alert to the fact that something's happened. This light comes on instantaneously. Once they flip that switch, every car, every driver knows immediately, okay, back off, something big's happened somewhere.
I highlighted the top 10 in overall positions and Daytona prototypes outside for Finlay Motorsports. Michael Valiente doing a good job in 11th. Christian Fittipaldi for Chiva Racing is 12th. Scott Sharp in the 58. Now, David Donahue is about to climb aboard that car, but they have plummeted to 13th after challenging for the lead. How about that? That crazy crash was so costly, and it wasn't their fault. Wally Dallenbach is in 14th. Ollie Gavin 15th, Tommy Erdos 16th in the second Chiva car. Pat Long continues to pump along, and he's up to 17th. Jack Baldwin is in 18th position. Best of the GT class, Dirk Werner ahead of Lance Arnold, the Porsche factory driver in the Doncaster Racing Porsche. Great effort. The Taffel car of Andrew Davis. Then the first of the Pontiac GXP-Rs with Andy Pilgrim, former champion, former race winner here, former Speed GT champion. Then it's Randy Popst in the best of the Speed Source RX-8. So there's some wonderful diversity in great positional changes. The race is on. We've had a little bit of everything so far as they dive for pit road one more time. Brian.
Leader in GT is in. Dirk Werner has brought his Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche in. Routine stop, tire and fuels, and they should get back out. It is getting very, very busy down on pit lane. A lot of teams taking advantage of this full course caution.
Why wouldn't they? Farnbacher Lowe's 4 cars strong in this year's race. And in this particular car, there's a couple of guys who have won the GT class.
Very serious effort by Farnbacher Lowe's this year. The car is immaculately prepared. I mean, they don't miss anything. Similar to the Taffel bunch, these two teams rise above in the GT preparation.
Well, in the GT class, because it's a pretty balanced rules package right now, a lot of people are motivated by that, and that's why this GT class with, what did we have, 42 GT cars started this race, and that is the largest single class entry in the 45-year history of the Rolex 24. So they feel good about it. A number of teams with multiple car entries coming into this race. TRG with the most, with 5 cars. Team Salem started with 4, 2 Porsches and 2 Corvettes, but I think one of those Corvettes didn't start. Farnbacher Lowe's with 4, Synergy with 3, Taffel with 3, and Speed Source with a couple of RX-8s and other multiple cars. Now look at Andy Pilgrim here.
I think he's cleaning his windshield the old-fashioned way.
It certainly is.
He's got a mop handle on the little tether there. That's exactly what he's got. He's cleaning his windscreen on the inside.
High-tech racing at its best. We'll be back. We're not done yet. See you in a moment.
Speed's coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona is brought to you by Rolex, a crown for every achievement. By Ruby Tuesday, simple, fresh American dining from start to finish. And by Lexus and their pursuit of perfection.
We are back. We are still under caution, however, here at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Round 1 in a 14-round championship this year, the Rolex Sports Car Series, brought to you by Crown Royal Special Reserve. We're looking forward to an exciting season. Mexico City is the second round on the first weekend in March. March 1 to 3 we'll be down there in Mexico City, sharing the weekend, of course, with the Busch Series, and we're looking forward to that, but we need to get through this one first. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Because it's equal weighting as far as points for each and every round. You just have to work harder for your points at this one.
Got to work a lot harder for your points in this one. There is no bonus points for the endurance event. Prestige, yeah, no doubt about that, but this is a very long day, a lot of hard work for the same points you would get in just a 3-hour race.
Well, we're not far from signing off for our opening day's coverage. Calvin, your final thoughts before we say farewell?
Well, it's really been a sensational first 8 hours or so here, Lee, and we're now starting to see some of the drama that we expected much earlier in the race. But when you look at the favourites right now, Ganassi have to be at the top of the list. They seem to have had a real calmness to their whole approach to this 24-hour race. They didn't seem to be too wrapped up in being the fastest cars in practice. They just stuck to their game plan. Right now, they have 2 very strong cars running in the top 5. There appear to be no weaknesses right now with that team or with the cars. Let's go down to Brian.
Well, Calvin, only 8.5 hours into this race, like you said, and looking at the GT field, what I see is it's wide open. We've got a long way to go. Just about the time you think somebody might have an advantage, they seem to run into trouble. And what we've just seen is that anything can happen in the Rolex 24. And with this much time to go, I think if you're within 5, 6, maybe even 10 laps of the leader right now, you just grind away at it at the pace that you can run. It only takes one incident to take 2 or 3 cars out of the race. You've picked up those positions. It is not time to quit. A long way to go here at Daytona. The Porsche is very strong in GT, but don't count out those Pontiacs or the Mazdas, guys.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for your help down there on pit road. You've been busy today on the opening day's coverage. We've got plenty more to come tomorrow. Go and grab a well-earned rest, and we look forward to your insight tomorrow when we come back 6 a.m. Eastern, taking you all the way through until the checkered flag. In the meantime, you can stay up to date with everything that's occurring here at the Speedway at speedtv.com and also grandamerican.com. That will keep you up to date. Have you enjoyed the first part, Dorse?
Absolutely. I've enjoyed every bit of it, but we're just now getting to the meat of the sandwich, aren't we?
There has really been a little bit of everything. Salvador Duran is the race leader for Telmex Chip Ganassi Racing. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for joining us. Bob Varsha, David Hobbs, and the boys will be back at 6 a.m. tomorrow.